Hey guys, so for today's video we're looking at the Dodge Journey. So for these types of videos I look at the history of the car, major flaws, and why it got cancelled. I'm slowly making my way through most of the Mopar cars. I've probably done about 15 or 20 of them by now, so check that playlist out in the top right corner if you want more. In these videos, the first part focuses on looking back at the history of the car, and then we jump to talking about the events that led to the car being cancelled, and any flaws that it had. So for the Journey, we begin back in 2007. The world first saw the Dodge Journey midsize crossover SUV at the 2007 Frankfurt Motor Show. The Chrysler Pacifica midsize crossover was discontinued after the 2008 model year, so the Journey went on sale as a 2009 production model in its place. The Journey shared a modified platform with the Dodge Avenger and had the same short wheelbase as the Chrysler Town & Country minivan. The Journey was sold in left-hand drive and right-hand drive all across the world, including North America, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, Europe, Australia, China, and even as a Dodge JC in Japan. Depending on the location, the Journey was also marketed as a Fiat Fremont. After 2009 and 2010, Dodge revamped their lineup of vehicles across the board for 2011, and that included the Journey as well, which we'll get into later. So now we can look at the trim levels for the Journey. 2009 started out as you'd expect from Dodge with SE, SXT, SXT all-wheel drive, RT, and RT all-wheel drive. The base SE came at around $19,000, while the top of the line RT all-wheel drive was over $27,000. Apart from the SE, all-wheel drive was available for a cost of between $1,750 and $2,500. After the redesign happened in 2011, Dodge switched things up and went for a lineup that consisted of Express, Main Street, RT, Crew, and Lux. Again, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, priced reasonably low between $22,000 and $34,000. Those names never really caught on and seemed really odd to most people, so they reverted back to more traditional Dodge stuff the next year in 2012, like SE and SXT, and that would continue for the rest of the Journey's life. An American Value package was also added for 2012 as the cheapest trim level. The AVP and limited trims were discontinued in 2017, and the RT was replaced by the GT. Pricing was always pretty similar throughout all the years, no matter what Dodge decided to call the trim levels. Now on screen you can find some of the features and add-ons of the different Journey trims. You can just pause on each if you want to read more. It'll be too long to actually go through them all, and I've just used the 2013 models as an example. Moving on to the exterior, the Journey was originally built on the Global D platform. For reference, the Global C was used for the Dodge Avenger and Chrysler Sebring, so the D platform was stretched and widened. Dodge seemed hesitant with the Journey design. They maintained the familiar Dodge crosshair grille, but the rest of the car kind of looked like a Dodge Grand Caravan, or a minivan, and I don't think that should have been the case as most SUV buyers are trying to buy an SUV and not a minivan. The headlights are sporty looking, and there's a body line that starts there and goes around the entire vehicle. I do like the pronounced wheel arches as it makes the car appear visually wider and beefier. The back is less sporty and it looks like a bigger version of the Dodge Caliber. The taillights wrap around the vehicle and continue into the tailgate, and they feature small dual chrome stripes at the bottom. 2011 saw some nice visual improvements to the grille and lower front fascia, and Dodge used their new written logo front and back, replacing the previous Ram logo. LED taillights were another improvement. The changes were welcome at the time, but as the years dragged on, the Journey looked more and more outdated as nothing changed by the end of its life, continuing with untinted window glass, 17-inch steel wheels and hubcaps on the base models, and other basic features like body color mirror and fog lights. Dodge also revised their logo in 2013 again, adding the red slanted rectangles. As for a few other models worth mentioning, there's the Journey Blacktop package released in 2013. This one actually looks really decent with the all-black theme. That meant a gloss black grille, gloss black headlight bezels, lower front fascia accents, mirrors, and 19-inch gloss black aluminum wheels and center caps. To add to the blacktop, the next year Dodge put out the Crossroad model, which had some lower body chrome accents on the front, sides, and rear end, smoked headlights and taillights, a black grille, rocker panels, roof rack rails, and skid plate. As for sheer size, the Journey is bigger than it looks, coming in at 192 inches overall, longer than the Toyota Highlander and shorter than the Ford Explorer. Now we can move inside the Journey and check out what the cabin has to offer. The cabin is functional and practical with plenty of room for both the passengers and cargo. Just like the exterior, 2011 and up models featured a new design. The original 2009 release was pretty typical of a Dodge interior, lots of cheap plastic and not so many softer materials. It is worth noting that the RT models had plastic that felt and looked better than the cheaper SE and SXT versions. The base SE model comes with 5 seats, but SXT and RT models were available to be ordered with seating for 7 passengers, also called a flexible seating group. The third row bench seat was 0.6 inches higher than the second row, split 50-50 with the ability to fold flat. That third row has good headroom but extremely tight legroom, as it wasn't really built for adults to fit back there, but rather younger children. Moving up to the second row, those bench seats were 1.6 inches higher than the front row for a better viewing experience. They were 60-40 folding flat, but with 7-seater journeys they could also slide around 4.7 inches and fold and tilt to provide easier access to the third row behind them. The center stack was simple with knobs and buttons and an available MyGig infotainment system that included navigation and a hard drive. One of the things that helped the Journey stand out was unique storage, like there was a bin at the top of the center stack, a shallow underfloor storage bin under the last row of seats, in-floor storage bins with removable liners, and even another storage bin under the front passenger seat. The awesome chill zone feature was found in the top of the dual-level glove box, which used the air conditioning system to keep up to 4 soda cans cold. As we mentioned, 2011 brought an improved design, and Dodge really upped the ante to provide a higher quality experience inside. Hard plastics were out and soft touch materials were in on the dashboard, door panels, armrests, and center console. Sound blocking material made the drive quieter. The center stack was redesigned with 3 main knobs under the touchscreen. The MyGig was replaced with a Uconnect system with 4 different versions, including a base 4.3-inch touchscreen, an 8.4-inch touchscreen with 30GB hard drive, and a premium 8.4 version with nice features like Bluetooth and Garmin navigation. A 6-disc CD changer and 6 speakers came standard, while Dodge also offered a rear DVD entertainment system with a 9-inch screen, wireless headphones, and a premium Infinity sound system. Like many other things, the Journey has just average cargo space for its class, 67.6 cubic feet with all the seats down, with the ability to load 9-foot-long items inside. That's less than even the Honda CR-V, which is a much smaller vehicle. Now we can move on to the performance of the Journey, which had 6 different engines and 6 different transmission offerings across all years of both the Journey and Fiat Fremont. Covering North America first, the base vehicles came with the 2.4-liter 4-cylinder World engine that was shockingly used in the Journey, unchanged from 2009 right until the end of 2020. That 2.4-liter made 173 horsepower, 166 pound-feet of torque, and was paired with a 4-speed automatic that was truly considered ancient by the time 2020 came along, with most competitors offering an 8 or 9 speed by then. Dodge claimed performance times of 9.6 seconds from 0 to 60, with the quarter mile done in 17.1 seconds with this engine. This engine is not rated for towing, and it's one of the slowest vehicles in the class regardless of the year. Gas mileage is just okay, rated at 19 city and 26 highway mpg. As for the V6s, the 3.5-liter V6 was standard in SXT and RT models for the first 2 years in 2009 and 2010. It was a lot better than the 4-cylinder, but still very outdated, making 235 horsepower and 232 pound-feet of torque, and paired with a 6-speed automatic. Performance times here improved to 0 to 60 in 8.3 seconds, with a quarter mile of 16.4 seconds. And the fuel economy decreased as expected to 16 city and 22 highway mpg, while the towing capacity was rated at 3,500 pounds. In 2011, the entire Chrysler lineup was upgraded with the 3.6-liter Pentastar V6, and that was a big improvement over the 3.5 in almost every way, and of course that found its way into the Journey as well. Output jumped to 283 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque here, still paired with the 6-speed auto. The 3.6-liter would be standard for most higher-end trim levels, as well as with the all-wheel drive. 0 to 60 improved to around 7.1 seconds for the all-wheel drive models, with a quarter mile achieved in around 15.7 seconds, but towing capacity did fall from 3,500 pounds to 2,500 pounds. As for that all-wheel drive system, it was meant for slippery surfaces as opposed to off-roading, sending power to the front wheels most of the time, but sending some to the rear wheels in rainy or wintry conditions. It also gives power to the rear wheels when the vehicle is turning at speeds of over 25 miles per hour. It was a fairly basic system, but it did work well. Now we can look at the Journey offerings across the world. As I mentioned, the Journey was sold all over the globe. It was still known as the Dodge Journey in Europe, South America, and Australia, but that changed when Chrysler rebadged the vehicle as a Fiat Fremont, releasing it from 2011 to 2015 before discontinuing it. The Fremont was available mostly in left-hand drive markets, but a right-hand drive version was later added to Australia. Whether Journey or Fremont, the powertrain options change up a bit in other parts of the world. For 09 and 2010, Europe got the 2.7-liter V6 with just 182 horsepower and 189 pound-feet of torque, as well as a 2-liter Volkswagen Common Rail diesel with 138 horsepower and 229 pound-feet of torque. The VW diesel was paired with a dual-clutch transmission. After 2011, the Fiat Fremont got the same 2.4-liter World and 3.6-liter Pentastar engines, as well as 2 variations of the 2-liter Fiat Multijet diesel, with 138 to 168 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. That Fiat Multijet could be had with a 6-speed manual or automatic. For the last model year in 2020, Dodge cut the lineup down, offering just the SE Value, or the Canada Value Package in Canada, and the Crossroad models. The 3.6-liter Pentastar V6, 6-speed auto, and all-wheel drive were discontinued, leaving only the 2.4-liter 4-cylinder with a 4-speed automatic. Strangely, all the Journey models featured 3 rows and 7 seats as standard, instead of optional as previous, making the Journey the cheapest brand new 7-seater in North America, coming in at $23,675 US. So that'll bring us to the next part of the video, looking at the reasoning for the cancellation and the flaws of the Journey. I've come up with 5 different reasons and or flaws referring to the car or Chrysler decision making and decision executions. So let's look at those reasons now. One of the first reasons to explain the Journey's cancellation would be that Dodge wanted to transition to show that their brand is all about performance, and thus they ended production of the Grand Caravan and the Journey after the 2020 model year. That left Dodge without a front-wheel drive crossover for the first time since 2008, and without a minivan for the first time in almost 40 years. The 3 vehicles that remained in the Dodge lineup were all heavily performance-based: the Durango, Charger, and Challenger, all of which featured sporty and muscular exteriors, the choice of 3 different V8 engines, and a Hellcat variation for each of them. A basic and inexpensive crossover like the Journey really didn't fit that mix, and Dodge felt that it was time to go. Now, another reason that made it easier to axe the Journey is that Chrysler let the Journey get old and outdated with almost no improvements, remaining virtually unchanged for the past 9 model years. It got that restyling in 2011, and that was it. It was simply no longer competitive or attractive to prospective SUV buyers, and was just average in every category. It's based on a platform co-developed with Mitsubishi that FCA stopped using in any other vehicle back in 2017. The exterior styling is pretty much the same since it was released in 2008. They still use that 2.4-liter World engine in there right until 2020, more on that soon. You have to keep updating vehicles to keep them relevant, and Chrysler really didn't do that at all for the Journey. You could argue the Charger still rides on a version of that LX platform today, introduced in 2005, but Dodge has constantly updated the Charger inside and out with new fascias, colors, seats, speakers, limited and special editions, Hellcat and Red-Eye models, and even fun factory options like colored brake calipers and racing stripes. The same goes for the Challenger and Durango. Dodge showed that they could keep all their older vehicles popular by providing tons of fun and unique updates without really altering the platform, but they failed to execute that strategy entirely with the Journey. In fact, doing the opposite by doing nothing. No company should expect an unchanged 9-plus-year-old product to succeed in the market for any type of product, let alone a vehicle. The next point here is pretty unbelievable to me, but I'm just not sure why FCA kept the ancient 2.4-liter World engine in the Journey, and not only that, but it was still paired with a 4-speed automatic transmission, which was practically an ancient artifact by 2020. Sure, used vehicles will live on with that powertrain, but I can't believe both were offered on a new vehicle in 2020. Almost all the competitors were offering 8 or 9-speed transmissions instead. The 2.4-liter World was loud, rough, and just not powerful enough to move the heavy 3,800-pound Journey smoothly, especially for a vehicle that was designed to carry several passengers and cargo. It was also rated to tow just 1,000 pounds, so that renders the Journey unable to tow even an ATV or a small trailer. The hauling capability wasn't that great either, with just 67.3 cubic inches of room, with all the seats down other than the front row. All of that really isn't good enough for a utility vehicle. At least Chrysler did get rid of the old 3.5-liter V6 pretty quick, which was less refined and less powerful than the competition, replaced in 2011 by the 3.6-liter Pentastar V6, which was a great engine. But even that engine got paired with a 6-speed automatic, and not the ZF 8-speed like basically all the other Jeep, Chrysler, Ram, and Dodge applications received. And if Chrysler could have upgraded the V6, why was that not possible with the 4-cylinder? And this was just one of the big ways that the Journey was behind the times. Now, my next reason is more of a criticism of FCA, as I think they failed to realize that the Journey had any value, and I truly think this was a mistake on their behalf to cancel it. Even though it was older, it was still selling really well with over 94,000 units sold in 2018 and almost 75,000 in 2019, before dropping sharply to 40,000 in 2020, but that could be partly attributed to the pandemic. At the time of the cancellation, the Grand Caravan and Journey represented over 38% of overall sales for the Dodge brand, so these weren't insignificant vehicles. The Journey was also the cheapest way in the country to get a 7-seat vehicle, as we talked about earlier, at a base cost of around $24,000. The Journey always offered utility at very affordable prices, and I just don't understand why Dodge didn't get more out of this vehicle. They could have improved this thing, updated the 4-cylinder powertrain, or even redesigned it to look more like the other aesthetically pleasing Dodge vehicles. Dodge may have also wanted to get rid of this Journey to bring out a sporty, next-gen SUV vehicle instead. There were many rumors that the vehicle would be based on the Alfa Romeo Giorgio platform for 2022 or 2023, with a Charger-influenced front end and body style. However, it now looks like Dodge will release a 2023 Hornet SUV built at the same plant in Naples, Italy, as the upcoming Alfa Romeo Tonale. You can find out lots more in my Dodge Hornet video that I made a few weeks ago, but one real possibility is that the Journey will be replaced by the Hornet very soon. The Journey also had a few flaws, but there was never anything really severe, and these are certainly not responsible in any way for the car being cancelled. Of course, it's part of the flaws part of this video, so I have to include them. Some of those flaws included brake issues, electrical system failures, engine problems, and a ranking of second to worst on the DodgeProblems.com pain rank system. With a score of 62.02 and close to 2,000 complaints, only the Dodge Intrepid fared worse. I will say that almost all of these complaints are attributed to the 2009 and 2010 models, as the 2011 and up versions had way less issues. Car complaints also gave the 2009 Journey the Avoid Like the Plague badge. The 2009 Journey also had an incredible 8 different recalls. So first, the electrical problems. I've put some details about the recalls on screen. So those had to do with the 3.5-liter V6 engine wiring harness damage, PCM and fuel pump relay causing engine stalling, electrical connector overheating, and reverse wiring steering column causing the driver airbag not to inflate the right amount. There was also front door wiring problems, the airbag control unit power supply corroding over time and not deploying the airbags, and the power steering hose rupturing over time. The most frequent electrical problem was the ignition switch turning off while in use or not being able to turn on average affecting the vehicle at 60,600 miles, requiring over a $600 US repair on average again, if a solution was even found. All in all, that meant thousands of Journey recalls for these electrical problems, with at least 11 crashes, 11 fires, and 11 injuries that were caused by these issues, and those are just the ones that were actually reported to the NHTSA. As for the brakes, there were hundreds of complaints of premature brake and rotor wear, calipers locking, ABS lights staying on, and brakes getting stuck. The main issue was that premature brake and rotor wear, where owners were saying they had to replace brakes after 5,000 miles of use, or multiple times per year. The brakes were pretty small for a 3,800-pound vehicle, 11.9-inch discs up front and 12 inches in the rear, but I can't say for sure if the braking system was insufficient for the size of the car, or if the car was too heavy for the pads and rotors, or if these problems were mostly the fault of the drivers. Apparently, the braking issues caused 4 crashes, 1 fire, and 1 injury. Again, these issues are mostly affecting the original 2009 to 2010 Journeys, so if you avoid those, chances are you wouldn't have to face many of these problems at all. So that's it in this video, guys. If you like this type of video, let me know in the comment section below, and make sure to give some suggestions for what car I should do next. How do you guys feel about the Dodge Journey? Do you love it? Do you hate it? And did you ever own one? As always, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for all your Mopar content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.